Today I am in Worcester, going to Worcester Wargamers for a Lord of the Rings tournament. Looking forward to it. I haven't played anything for a while, so let's go inside, have a look around. I'll show you the little place and get set up. Welcome to D6 Tabletop. As I said, I am at Worcester Wargames for a Lord of the Rings strategy battle game tournament. But before we get into that and my list and everything that went on, let's have a look inside Worcester Wargames. This place has got everything. It's got 40k, Age of Sigmar, Kings of War, card games, Star Wars games, Legion, X-Wing, Armada. It's got second-hand minis in these cases. You can either buy full minis, and by far the best thing I saw when I was in there is this, the wall of bits. There was everything in here for all your conversions, for any projects, anything you could need or possibly want is inside this box wall. I spent a fair few hours sifting through this during lunch and afterwards to see what bits of treasure I could find out. Stay tuned at the end, I will show you what I did buy and what I'm going to turn into a video. So, without any more ado, let's get into the tournament. This was a one-day tournament, playing 3 games chosen from the match play guide using armies of 500 points from any of the books currently used within the Middle-earth gaming system. My army for this tournament was the Legendary Legion Riders of Theoden. Now, for those who don't play Lord of the Rings, Legendary Legions give you bonuses for taking what's considered quite a themey list. So you're restricted on what units you can use, what models you can take, but in return for taking them, you get little buffs. So in this case, once per game, Theoden can call death at the start of the fight phase or combat phase, and this allows each hero to do either a heroic combat, which is when they fight, and if they kill their opponent or the opponent models in base contact, they can then move and fight again, or they can do a heroic strike, which increases their fight value, giving them a better chance at winning the fight. So that's the bonus this list gives. I thought I'd lead into it a little bit. I took 3 heroes. So we've got Theoden, we've got Éomer, and we've got Éowyn and Merry, who are classed as Dernhelm in this legion. Should they be unhorsed, then they become Éowyn and Merry, but whilst they're on horse, acting as one model, they are Dernhelm. Accompanying them, we have 3 Royal Guard mounted with throwing spears, 1 Royal Guard with a banner, and 8 Riders of Rohan, one of which has a throwing spear. So, game 1 is Felix and his forces of Mordor. He's got Black Númenóreans, Morannon Orcs, Warg Riders, a Ringwraith, Shagrat and Kardouche. The mission is destroy the supplies. As we both set up here, my main thoughts are overwhelming cavalry charge, obviously. He's got a lot more models than me. My only main way of winning this is to make him to break and hope that all the orcs run away. The likelihood of me getting that objective on top of that mountain is almost impossible due to the fact that I'm cavalry. I'd have to dismount and spend 3 turns climbing it, so that's not happening. So I've only got 2 I can really score, so most of my points I'm hoping to achieve through breaking him and denying him scoring. So turn 1 is mainly us just lining up our troops for what's to come afterwards, as me trying to get my cavalry charges off. As we go into turn 2, I have priority. Felix calls a move with Shagrat, which allows him to push up on my right flank. I call a counter move with Éowyn, but Shagrat overtakes Éowyn, denying me and making me lose ground on that right. This would then impede me for pretty much most of the game, because those combats on that right flank do not go to plan pretty much for the entire game, meaning that he has that side of the board and I can't get Éowyn or her troops do anything or get any of the bonuses that we get through charging. Now, as we go into this round of combat, Theoden does call death and is successful in clearing quite a lot of people from the left side of the board. Him and Éomer do put in some decent kills on the left and keep pushing that down. My main problem is I just cannot win on the right. For every orc that I'm killing on the left, he has been able to kill a horse or hold me back more on the right, which is causing me a problem because I can't spare the bodies that he can. As we go into turn 3, this continues again. It's back and forward with heroic moves and combats. His Ring Wraith manages to transfix AMR for 2 turns running, which is a big problem for me because he wins the fight, it's not a problem. He just can't kill anybody because he's being denied the ability to strike at the opponent. Towards the end of the game, as we can see here, the board is now a lot thinner. I have managed to kill him down, I've got him broken, and at this point I am not. However, as we go into the last turn, the last play of the game, we have one big problem. I haven't got a picture of it because it happened quite fast and we were going to run out of time. Theoden at the bottom of the board there next to the banner is charged by the Black Numenorian next turn, loses the fight, and is killed. This single act alone breaks my army, kills my leader, and ends up making me lose scoring points on the game. So the death of Theoden actually loses me the game. At this point, although he's raised 2 objectives and I've only raised 1, I was leading on points because of the other parts of the mission. End up finishing with the game 8 points to Mordor, 4 points to the Riders of Rohan. So that was game 1. Felix was a great opponent. It was a great game, and Theoden dying at the end lost me it. Unfortunately, that's the way it goes. So, next up, game 2. Very funny game. Here it is. So, game 2 is Kieran and his amazing looking Hobbit army, led by Gandalf in his cart. Look at this. It looks amazing. He's got Gandalf, he's got Lobelia Sackville Baggins, he's got Bilbo, and a few other characters I don't really know the names of. Unfortunately, I'm not that up to date on my Shire lore. The game mode is Domination, requiring us to each place 2 objectives around the board, as well as a central objective, to compete over them for the course of the game. I place my 2 behind this house on the bottom right, and also, as he's placing his in that corner there, easier for him to hold, I place the one on the right hand side, try and see if I can encourage him to space his army out a little bit. I also know that I've got more maneuverability so that I can capture that one easier. So as we go into turn 1, after deployment, first thing Kieran did when he got priority was cast Blinding Light and channel it. Therefore, for the rest of the game, my shooting is pretty much null and void. Still give it a go because you're hitting on 6s, which made my mind up in the sense that I would no longer be doing half moves with my troops to try and get shots off. I would just either fully move them or stand still. He's deployed in quite a large bubble, so all of his hobbits are supporting each other, except for Lobelia and 3 other people who he's placed on the side, on the flank, by that one objective. Due to the amount of bows and stones these hobbits can throw, I played it a little bit sheepishly to start with. Moved my riders away from the army to try and encourage him or try and get him to move from position a little bit and let me get some charges in. So I went straight after Lobelia. Merry killed her, justice for Bilbo Spoons, and that forced Kieran then to start separating his hobbits out. And as soon as he separated them into 2 different lanes around these buildings, I thought that's the best chance I was going to get, a cavalry charge. So I then turned around, and it was at this point that Gandalf tried to ruin all of my plans by trying to unhorse my heroes. It turns out that AMR is actually a very good wizard, in the sense that to deny Gandalf blasting him off his horse, he rolled 3 6s, thankfully denying what could have been a very big dent in my plan, and subsequently allowed me to get all the charges in, and then started fighting on 2 different fronts. Managed to line up the cavalry. Thankfully hobbits can only move 4, so it doesn't matter really where I go, I'm going to be getting charges off. As all the charges went in, I managed to have all the heroes in base contact. Theoden called death. And unfortunately, hobbits are not the most hardy of folk. So I managed to ride over quite a few hobbits, scoring me a lot of points. However, I was cursed again by wizards because Gandalf transfixed AMR 3 turns in a row, meaning that he kept winning the fight. However, he still couldn't land any wounds or kill him because he was only allowed to win the fight and do no strikes. Final score on the game, 7 to Rohan, 3 to the Hobbit. So that was game 2. Kieran and his hobbits. What a fantastic looking army. He did win. I think it was best army on the day as well. So big shout to him. It was a fantastic looking collection of models, and also the theminess of it was great as well. Gandalf in his cart is very rarely seen, especially with hobbits. They've got their own legendary legion which make them a bit more powerful. That's usually the one you see, so to see Gandalf on cart was quite nice. See a bit of a change.
So good result there. And now into game 3, a cavalry off. It's a very good game. Here we go.
So as we go into game 3, I have got Tom and his army of canned. The scenario is Lords of Battle, so killing is the name of the game. As you look at this, my initial problem with canned is that it's an entire cavalry army, meaning that I lose pretty much all of my extra attack bonuses. So this is going to be a hard one because he outnumbers me by 7 models, I think it was, on the table. And the whole point of this is to get into combat. There's no objectives, so my first thoughts in this is try and use some terrain to my advantage and try and limit the amount of numbers he can get into combat. So with that in mind, I pull my forces to the right of the board and head towards the 2 gullies to see if I can draw them in. The king on chariot follows my units round, and he charges into my lower collection of warriors whilst Theoden and Eomer charge up the top end. My main hope is that these royal guards can hold off the canned chariot long enough for Theoden and Eomer to make a difference up the top and start clearing a way through and getting me some kills on the board. However, doesn't really work. Having no charge bonuses against other cavalry is a big problem for me, and model count in this kind of scenario is not ideal. I managed to get Eowyn in to the units of his behind his chariot to prevent them from pushing forward. My hope was that those royal guard with the canned chariot would be able to hold him for a couple of turns. However, in one freak move, he managed to kill all 3 in one set of attacks, which then pretty much collapsed my entire rear guard. And it was only a matter of time then. I was too outnumbered, no might left on the board, heroes wounded, to the point where, over a series of combats, I got myself quartered, and in this game, if you roll a 1 or a 2, the game ends automatically, which it did on the first dice roll. So, fun game, silly game, because all we wanted to do was try and kill each other anyway, last game of the day. You don't want to be trying to think too hard. So, it was a good laugh to have that go on. And at the end of that game, the score was 0 to Rohan and 6 to Can.
So that was game 3. Unfortunately, did not go my way. Cavalry versus cavalry armies are quite hard for me because I always end up being outnumbered, and the scenario didn't really leave me any opportunity other than just trying to charge and win fights, which unfortunately didn't happen. But nevertheless, I had a great day at Worcester Wargames, had a great time at the competition, and I picked up a couple of bits on my way out from the bits wall. So let's have a little look at them.
So here's what I've picked up. I don't really know what it is. Old school Warhammer fantasy by the looks of it. But aside from that, don't know what army. I'm assuming elves. Could be dark elves. Could be high elves. But it looks pretty cool. So I'm going to clean it up and paint it and see how it comes out. I mean, it's clearly been left along for a while. The guy's held on with blue tack. So this should be good fun. Look for it in another video coming up soon.
A big thank you to Ben for putting on the event. A big thank you to Worcester Wargames for having us all there. And I found out they're not actually that far away, so I'll be making some more trips up there soon, especially for those bits and that bit wall. It's just a really cool concept. I think more stores should do it. So thank you for watching. If you like this kind of content, please consider commenting, subscribing on the video, tell me what you liked, tell me what you didn't like, tell me what you'd like to see in future, and anything else that you would like to add. So thank you for watching. Until the next one, take care. Goodbye.